Hey everyone, this is Mark from Stocks and Cash. It's March 20th, 2018, and I'm here with your market update video. I'll talk about my holdings and then also talk about some potential trade setups for tomorrow, which I see quite a few depending on how the market behaves. So let's jump right into the SPY. The SPY had a doji candle today. Kind of took a pause from this recent downtrend that we've been in. You can see that we stopped on this ascending trend line, and the doji candle basically indicates indecision. So yesterday we bounced off the 100 simple moving average, had an indecision candle today. So we'll see tomorrow if we could have another sideways candle potentially. We could come back down and test the 100 again. We could break the 100. We could bounce and retest this 274 level. There's a lot of things that could happen, and there's a lot of targets in the short range that could be hit. So we really want to kind of see what the market does. If we look at the indicators, you can see that the Stokes are bearish, MACD crossed over bearishly, and RSI is kind of floating around kind of in no man's land. So again, the doji candle indicates indecision. Anything could happen tomorrow. I personally think that we're going to bounce. I feel like this bounce off the 100 and close slash bounce off of this ascending trend line. I think it's going to give us some momentum to come back up and at least test this 274 level. I did indicate yesterday that I think it's possible that we could close this gap up here and then break out of this ascending wedge bearishly. That's just one scenario, but it's one that I'm keeping my eye on. As I mentioned, we could also just roll over here and push through the 100 and keep on going down. Test this low here at 265 or so, and perhaps even come back down and test the low on 2.9. But we'll see what happens tomorrow and throughout the week. But right now, like I said, indecision candle. We'll see what the market does tomorrow. Looking at the Qs. Qs had a doji-ish type candle as well, an inside day candle, I guess you could call it. There's a gap up here that's waiting to be filled. As I mentioned, both from the 8th to the 9th, and then from the 16th to the 19th. So again, gaps tend to like to get filled. They don't have to get filled immediately. We could, just have a bearish move down and not fill this gap for a long time, or maybe in the next couple days we fill it, and then who knows if we push through or bounce, get rejected from getting back above that gap. So again, I'm kind of neutral on the Qs. Understand that the indicators are bearish. Volume was relatively low today, although a little bit more so than the SPY relative to past performance on the Qs. Stokes bearish, MACD bearish, RSI kind of neutral. So, just looking at the indicators, it looks like there could be some more downside, but I do feel like, we have an opportunity to rally here, but this could have just been a pause. We don't know. So I think the next day or two will be telling as to the direction of the market, hopefully. Talking about my holdings, Pepsi I did get into today. It continued on down. When it broke the low of this candle, I bought a couple of puts. You can see we closed near the lows of the day. So I do think there's some more opportunity for Pepsi to come down and test our target here. First target of 107.24. If markets roll over, we could come down even further, 102.97, basically 103, and then 97.50 or so would be the third target. So a lot that could happen here with Pepsi. Again, I'd be looking at getting out of at least one of my puts at 107.21, assuming that we keep on coming down on the stock. So that's my outlook there. For solar, totally different. We had a really nice candle today. We gapped up a little bit. Yep, a little gap up on the open from yesterday's candle. We pulled back a little bit and then, just ran up for the rest of the day. So First Solar is looking really strong. If you've been following my videos, I see a cup and handle pattern. Here's the cup, this U shape here, and then this is the handle here, which put in a double bottom. And once it crossed this breakout level here, good to get in. And I do think it has a lot of room to run. There's this resistance line that I drew here. That was the previous 3-year high. Around, what was the high here? 74.29. Of course, we put in highs more recently at 76.61. So that'll be my first target, getting to 76.61, and then the fib levels, the fib extensions, 81.28 and 87.45 potentially. And even then, I'm not sure that I would necessarily get out. This ascending trend line has been touched a number of times. It started back here, it's hit once, twice, 3 times. You know, no guarantee that we'd hit it a fourth, but First Solar is looking pretty strong right now. So I'm going to be holding on to these calls for a little bit and see what happens. I probably will scale out at 76.49 and see if maybe we get a pullback before perhaps buying some more calls and buying a dip and riding up some more. So we'll see what happens there, but I am again anticipating that we retest these all-time highs. Maybe not this week, although it's certainly possible with 3 days left in the trading week to move up. Let's see, we closed at 73, so yeah, about $3.50. No reason why we couldn't do that in a day or two. But nothing saying that we have to. We could just keep following this 8 simple moving average, exponential moving average, and go up gradually, maybe hit it, you know, late in the week or early next week. So we'll keep an eye, but I do think First Solar is looking pretty strong, and I am up about 25% on that particular trade. On Pepsi, I am flat. All right, now let's take a look at some potential trade setups for tomorrow. There's a few, quite a few actually. So let's get right into it. Hess has kind of been meandering, trying to get out of this warning zone here. It hasn't done it. It's poked its head out. As you can see, we've had wicks, but no actual closes. I'd be looking for a close out of this warning zone here and see if we can continue on up. You can see that Hess has been relatively strong in the midst of this choppy market. So, you know, holding an ascending trend. Now MACD does look a little skittish, like it may be rolling over, although today kind of went more flat than downward. So if we get another big candle up, especially if we get a breakout here and close above this 49.09 level, I could definitely see the MACD starting to turn up some more. And I think there's an opportunity to come up and at least fill this gap here between the first and the second, and then this gap here. So Hess is something on my radar just to watch. That'd be kind of an end of day type trade. LULU, another one, end of day. We had a breakout here, it failed, and now look, we're trying to break out again, or at least retest the breakout. Still underneath, want to get a close above it, but I'd be looking to break out. Stokes are starting to turn up, which could be an early indicator that the stock is going to move bullishly. MACD is starting to turn up as well, and RSI is turning up. So money's starting to flow into LULU. We'll see if we can get a close above this breakout level and see if it starts to break out and ride up. Next stock, Target. So it's been kind of consolidating here. We do have the 21 exponential here, and we have our fib levels. So this is more of a trade that says, okay, we've been basing here. I'm going to put my stop at the low of this candle here, for example, on 319. That low is at 70.11. We're currently sitting at 71.56. So about a $1.50 risk for, you know, if we come back and test these highs at 78.50. So, you know, about a $7 gain. So it's a good risk to reward. You know, nothing saying that we will come all the way back up there, but if the markets turn up, there's certainly an opportunity for Target to move up with it. And you can see Stokes starting to turn up bullishly. MACD is starting to curve upwards, and RSI is looking up, similar to LULU. So I definitely see some opportunity here potentially in Target, but this is something towards the end of the day. If it's looking strong, gets a close above the 21 exponential moving average, then that might be something to consider. Next is Tesla. Haven't really looked at this one in a while. So it's been in this range, as you can see, since about October, from 360 down to 295. Been kind of bouncing around in here, but it's also been hitting this 310 level. And every single time it rebounds off of it, you can see that we've put in a doji. Well, I say every single time, it hasn't exactly done that yet here, but when we bounced at 294, we had a doji, and then we kind of meandered a bit and took off. Put in a doji here, meandered for a day, and then took off. You know, had a very long wick on this day here, put in a doji, and then took off. So let's see what happens tomorrow. If we get a doji on Tesla, it might be worth getting in long and seeing if we come back up and test the highs of 360, and that would be a really nice profit there. Very low risk to reward. Now certainly this level may not hold and we could get a close below it and retest our lows here at 295, but it's been quite a while since we've actually breached 310 level here. We're kind of sitting on it right now, so let's see what happens tomorrow if we get a run. Now the only thing you have to be concerned about, well, maybe not the only thing, but one of the things you have to be concerned about are the indicators, and they are very bearish right now. You can see that, you know, each time we've put in a lower low on the MACD, every time we've hit this 310 area, you know, we put in a low here and then we bounce, but then we put in a lower low here, we bounced. Now we're even lower than this low, so do we put in a do we also kind of bounce here? But the thing you have to be concerned about is that now we're having bearish, you know, a bearish trend on the MACD. I don't want to call it divergence. Usually divergence is if MACD is looking bearish, but the market or the stocks are actually up, going in an uptrend. That would be bearish divergence. But because the market, the stock has been moving sideways, you know, I'm tentative to call it bearish divergence, but the trend is certainly looking bearish. So, you know, I'm not saying put all your eggs in one basket here. I wouldn't buy it necessarily right at the open. Perhaps you could do a 5-minute candle if you are able to day trade. Put your stop at the low of that first 5-minute candle and see if we run up and get some movement in Tesla. Again, I think Tesla might depend on what the overall market is doing, although it can have a mind of its own, as you can see. I mean, the market didn't do this sideways movement or channel over the last, you know, 3 months. So it is kind of doing its own thing in a sense. So again, let's see what happens. Maybe we get a bounce, maybe we don't, but I would be looking to play a bounce on this trade just based on the historics in the last 3 months. Next is Wells Fargo. Looks like it's trying to break out bearishly, or break down bearishly, I should say. We put in this gap down. I believe this was earnings. We, you know, maybe came about halfway up to fill the gap. We didn't come nearly close to filling it. Got rejected, and now we're looking at potentially breaching this 54.67 level. So if we do, then, you know, well, I guess we can look at our fibs and see what we could potentially hit for targets. So 51.60 approximately, and 47.56 if we break the low here that we put in on the 9th. Now it's certainly possible that we could get a bounce, but I guess that's yet to be seen. So, you know, you can play it however you'd like. You can see if we get a bounce here. Maybe we put in a doji, or maybe we can put in a nice bullish candle if the markets are up tomorrow. But I'd be very cautious of going long on this stock. Stokes are looking bearish. MACD is bearish. RSI is ugly bearish. And volume was pretty decent today as well on this bearish move. So, again, if we break down here, potentially you could get in short. First target 51.60. As I mentioned, 47.56. Next one. Walmart. This one's a watch. Walmart's just been kind of consolidating down here at the 161.8 retracement level. We've touched it quite a few times, but you can see that MACD is starting to turn bullishly, and the Stokes are looking bullish as well. Volume's kind of faded off these last 3 days, kind of in a downward triangle, which can tend to break out bullishly. RSI is starting to turn up as well, so it looks like money is starting to come back into Walmart. We do have a lot of overhead resistance, and if I draw this properly, this is the new swing from this high to this low. We could, you know, you want to see if we either break down and break below this low, or if we start breaking up and out. I think you'd want to wait to get a close above this candle here on 3.6, which would put you above the 21 exponential moving average. Let me delete this, that's old. And see if we gap fill. I mean, Walmart's taken a beating recently. Certainly there could be more downside, but Let's see what the stock does and get in based on its price. Not, we don't want to guess at this point which way it's going to go. What else? Verizon. Oops. Pretty similar idea here to Wells Fargo. We've come down, bounced, didn't really go anywhere. We got kind of rejected by the 21 EMA, and now we're looking to break down further. If we get a close below 47.47, targets of 45.5 and 42.96 on Verizon. And again, this would be something you'd want to get into towards the end of the day, assuming that we've broken this level and it's near the lows of the day. Then it's worth potentially getting into this trade. So enough with the doom and gloom here. Let's take a look at some other potentially bullish trade setups, two that I'm seeing. Let me come back to MGM. Let's look at NVDA because it's a quick and simple one. NVDA is basically in an ascending triangle. You can see price level here. We haven't broken out of this level yet. We're looking really close to doing it. This ascending trend line is very much intact, and if we get a breakout, and today was a very strong candle, volume was okay. If we get a break above this 249, basically call it the 250 level, I could see NVIDIA running. Of course, it'd be nice if the market participated just to give it some more momentum, but based on this pattern that's getting set up here, certainly possibility of breaking up and out. So let's see what happens on NVIDIA tomorrow. Again, there'll be something towards the close of the day. Assuming that it doesn't have a huge day, if it goes all the way up to this first target, you might want to be leery of getting in. But if we're for a couple bucks, maybe 152, 153, it'd certainly be worth taking a few calls on NVIDIA and seeing if we can push on higher, hit this first target at 262, and then maybe ultimately 278. But again, it would be nice to see market participation to kind of build on the momentum that NVIDIA is kind of building up right now. So let's see what happens there, but it's looking like a potentially good trade setup, looking like it wants to break out. So going back to MGM quickly, this is the last one. You can see that we've bounced. We had it put in a low here, here, basically here and here. So that's what, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times we've touched this little level here. We bounced off of it. We closed above this double bottom. I guess you'd call it a neckline on this W double bottom. We've hit a new intermediate high here, a higher low here, and now it looks like it wants to continue on up. So I think MGM is a first 5-minute rule type play. Maybe see what the market's doing. If the market's way down, maybe don't want to get in, but MGM's looking pretty strong. It's riding nicely above the 8 EMA. You can see that we had some gap between the price and the 8 EMA. It came back and tested it, held above it, and now we're moving higher, riding along the 8 EMA. So certainly I think we could get to this first target of 38.50 or so. Second target would be 40.11 and 42.21. That about wraps it up for tonight. If anyone has any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section. Always happy to see feedback and input from you all. Have a great night and good luck trading tomorrow.